caramel latte just got delivered.
Love you all.
Oh, thank you. Well, it's good timing. Right as we started the workshop, my wife delivered me a caramel latte because she, quote, loves me a latte, which also means she can fit in with this crowd when it comes to dad jokes or mom jokes in this case.
That's my
So,
favorite
I
hey,
like how
part.
aesthetically pleasing it is.
yes, it is. I don't know if you can tell. It has, I'm guessing, nutmeg on top. It's quite fancy. I normally am like, black coffee, go. So she's gave me the fancy one. But hey, welcome. I'm so glad y'all are here. Shawn, I'm especially glad you're here. We're all glad you're here. Thank you for being willing to be our guest today. I'm excited about today's spotlight. But hey, before we get into today's spotlight, though, I would love for everyone, as you're coming in, I would love it if you would share, for the sake of time, share in the chat, what is your win of the week? I would love to know that. We will celebrate that. We'll save time on the mic for today's spotlight. And so if you would pop in the chat and share your win of the week, I would love to hear that. And I think I'll just share also my win of the week, which is that I just worked out so I'm running a Black Friday's coming up. I'm running a promo for my book. I would normally do that because it's like Amazon, but I had this thought this week. I realized, wait a minute, but my best super fans on my email list already bought the book. So just like promoting the same book over and over again gets kind of old. So I reached out to a few different other authors that I knew that have nonfiction books with a similar audience. I was like, hey, what if we all promote each other's books as like a bundle? And so we're doing that. So it's like in 2 weeks. It was a kind of a random idea, but we're doing it. And so me, Billy Broaz for Simple Marketing for Smart People by Billy, Anyone, Not Everyone by Corey Quinn, Free Money by Austin Church, and Serve to Sell by John East. There's a couple others we're waiting to hear back from, but at least those 4, we're going to do a bundle promotion, and that's super cool. I'm excited about that. We drive a lot of book sales, and it'll be allow us to all to help new people. So that is my win, and I appreciate you sharing your wins in the chat as you come in. Please go ahead and do that. Monique said I signed 1 client, her first client for January cohort. Amazing. And 2 strong maybes. That's awesome. I love that, Monique. That's so exciting. Shawn said my win of the week is today. Just planned big year-end planning workbook. You just launched it. Sorry, plan your year. So well done, Shawn. And just so you know, like that is kudos to Shawn. It's already amazing that Shawn's willing to come here of his own free will and share all the details of kind of like pulling open the hood or back the curtain on his car, on his business, so we can kind of dive into everything. The gratitude is then amplified by the fact that it's launch week for Shawn for one of his most important products. So thank you, Shawn. I appreciate that. Let's see what other ones we got coming in. Nate said, living close to a business library with a full Adobe suite. So that's a win. So you can finish your marketing video even though your editor couldn't. So going all in on Premiere Pro. That's an adventure. Elizabeth said, hosting a second small group workshop tomorrow. And then also non-related, 1 step away from final approval from your dissertation research protocol. So that brings you closer to Dr. Thompson. Is that right? That's the plan? Yeah, that's good. Yeah, and Brian said the language I'm using is working really well. Even people I didn't think would be targets want details on the group coaching. One person said they're in the first group for sure. That's amazing. And that said 4 sales and more serve calls next week. I love that. And Joe, you launched a new course. Well done. So thank you all for coming in and sharing that. So let's go ahead and kind of, Annette, if you would spotlight Shawn and I, let's go ahead and kind of just jump right into our conversation. Shawn, I'm going to assume that there's some people in this community who know who you are, know all about all the good work you do. And there's plenty of people that the sad shame is they don't. So what I would love to do is I would love to just give you a chance to introduce yourself, first of all. So Shawn, who the heck are you?
Yeah. Hey, I'm Shawn Blanc. John, thanks for having me. This is fun. I live in Kansas City, married, got 3 boys at home, ex-marketing director for a large nonprofit, turned like full-time blogger maybe 13 or 14 years ago. And then just kind of over the years that has evolved and adjusted and morphed into what I do now, which is I mostly work with full-time founders and creative entrepreneurs, help them run their full-time business on a part-time schedule. And so we have a lot of stuff around productivity training, time management, goal setting, margin and things like that for businesses that are usually doing, around 250 to 2.5 million. We work with folks like that through online stuff and coaching and cohorts, et cetera. And John helped me figure out the cohort model. I couldn't crack it. And so now I'm here to talk about the good, the bad, and the ugly of it. So.
Yes. We'll talk about all of it. No, and I love that. Thank you for sharing, Shawn. So Shawn, just to be clear, you are, I don't know if I could say a grandfather of online marketing, but you're at least like an elder father of like the like blogging world, course world. There's this entire industry is not that old, so there's not a whole lot of competition for that.
Yeah.
But you are one of my friends who's been in this industry the longest. I mean, more than a decade. So first of all, kudos to you for doing that and doing that full time, and all this whole time supporting your family. So that's amazing. So talk me through your business before we got into the group coaching program, right? So the group coaching part is the newest part of your business, but before that, you've been running business for a long time. So can you tell me what kind of products you've sold, what kind of stuff you've done over the last 13 years?
Yeah. Try to give the short version because otherwise we'd be here forever.
Yeah.
So literally just started blogging just for fun. I don't know, in 2006, I think. So we're coming on close to 20 years now. I'm not quite there yet. So just for fun, 2006, started making a little bit of money from it in 2008, just through Amazon affiliate links and like selling some sponsorships on my blog. Um, didn't have an email list, didn't have digital products, anything like that. 2011, actually, so kind of what spurred me to quit my job in marketing, start blogging, was my wife and I got pregnant and then miscarried our first child.
Hmm.
And like just in that whole like whatever like that 60-day window of realizing I was going to be a dad, and then us losing the
And you're
pregnancy,
not.
like everything
Yeah.
slowed down for me. And it was sort of like that Matrix scene in the first
Mm.
Matrix where Neo experiences bullet time. Like we all see bullet time for the first time, and like everything slows down, and like the bullets are just like slowly going by.
Yeah.
Um, so for me, like a lot of the stuff that I was doing, I was working in a very just toxic, urgency based corporate environment, not healthy, putting in 70 to 80 hours a week. And I was just like, I'm not going to do this as a dad. And this is not like a career path that I want to stay on. So that kind of gave me the perspective to quit. So I took my little blog that was doing about 1,500 bucks a month just through the advertising and the affiliate stuff. And I wrote a blog post. I said, hey, I'm going to go full time with this thing. And if you pitch in, give me $3 a month to support me, I think I could do full time. And it's so interesting. Like I felt like such a hypocrite asking for $3. I was
Mm.
like, who am I to ask for this money? And no one's going to want to support me. And I don't know. This has been my thing. Like, I got to work through all this crap with my therapist. Why do you feel this way when you ask for money? But for me, it was really hard asking for $3. And, looking back now, it seems so silly. Um, but I don't know, it's been the growth. And so I
Yeah.
asked for $3 a month from my readership, and enough people jumped in that I was able to go full time. I got about $3,000 a month in new revenue. So I was now at 4,500 a month, 50 a year. I was like, hey, this is enough to like roughly support me to get to what would be the sustainable gross revenue mark. So I started with that. And then just in my experience of running business now for 13 years full time, is that it feels like every 2 to 3 years or so, the business needs to reinvent itself of like
Mm.
a new business model or a new top of funnel strategy or a new offering, new markets, like whatever that is. And like you're kind of just evolving and adjusting as things grow and change. And so, um, anyways, got into online products, did an ebook with a launch like that, then did my first online course. Those things did really well. My first course launch, we ended up doing like 130,000 the first week, and that was just like
Amazing.
mind blowing to me.
Yeah.
It literally doubled my whole annual salary. Like I was doing like 90K a year, and then we did 130 in 1 week, and that was pretty bonkers. So I was able to hire my first full time employee, and then we were able to scale a few things from there. Um, Online course stuff. Then we started getting into cohorts and doing group cohorts for the online courses because we found that we could charge more money for those. The success rate for completion of the course is a lot higher. And then we started getting into the high ticket cohorts.
Yeah.
And
Let me
that's sort
pause you
of
right there,
like,
Shawn.
yeah,
Real quick. I want to go back to like group cohort-based courses
yeah,
because I think some people, this is honestly a question I get all the time, is like, well, wait, what's the difference between a group coaching program and a cohort-based course? So I think you've got a great example now where you've done both of those in your business. So can you talk us through real quick the dynamics of a cohort-based course of like, how is that priced? How many people in it? Just kind of help us understand the difference between the two.
yeah. So our flagship course that we've sold for years is called the Focus Course, and it's personal productivity. So it's values based time management, for your life. And we had the online version of that. That's what did 133,000 when we launched it that first weekend back in 2016. So you find that most people aren't actually completing it. They sign up to buy it, but
Mm.
they don't complete it. And so
Yeah.
for us, it's like, man, we want them to get the win by the end of the course, and like, because all the pieces come together. So we started actually doing it as a live event in real life, where we did it as like a 1 day like workshop, and that was super fun. And then the feedback was amazing, and that was super rewarding for us as a team to get to work with people in real time and just guide them through the materials. So then 2020 hit, we couldn't do in-person stuff anymore, so we switched to Zoom and found out that not a lot of people wanted to do like an all-day Zoom workshop. And
Yeah.
then I was seeing, I can't remember, just some other people. This is 2020. Some other people were
Yeah.
doing these cohort-based courses. So we're like, hey, well, let's just do it, break it up over 4 weeks. So we just took the material, divided it by four, did section 1, 2, 3, 4, and just let it that way. Where the first session, like on Mondays, was me teaching the material live, and then we would do something on Friday where then people would come share their homework, and I would answer any questions that people had. And that went really well. So we charged, I think, for the first program we did for that, I think we were charging $1,000 a seat.
Okay.
Um,
So it's premium.
it was premium, and maybe that was the VIP. I think we had like a 400. I can't remember. This is like 5 years ago now,
Yeah.
4 years ago. But it was it was somewhere in the range, 400,
Yeah.
and then like 1,200 or 1,000 for the higher end with like a VIP. That I ran a smaller group of like 10 people. We would connect on Wednesdays to talk about it related to like business or whatever. Um, so that was the first one. I think that was our biggest one too. I think we did like 60K in revenue for that one. And then we've done them twice a year, every January and then every fall. And they've kind of slowed down. So like our price point now is closer to $250 a month, or $250 for the cohort. And then everyone who's part of our membership community, because that ended up birthing a membership community
Mm-hmm.
where all these people that were part of the cohort, like, we like each other. We want to stay connected. How can we, continue this?
Yeah.
And we're like, hey, well, let's have a membership on the back end. And so now, as part of that membership community, you can go through the live version of the focus course. We do that cohort twice a year, and that's a huge sticking point for the membership community.
That's great.
So then we got into the business, the higher end coaching stuff.
So, but when you run a cohort, like roughly how many people are in a cohort of the course?
Usually 75, give or take, is
Yeah. So
that.
75 people for, is it
Yeah,
6 weeks or 4 weeks?
it's 4 weeks. Yeah.
4 weeks. Okay. Yeah. Yeah. So I think that's I want to call that out just because like that's a totally different model, right? Like it's a lower price point compared to what we teach in terms of group coaching, but you get a lot more people in it, right? So that's part of the whole math of this, is that like for sometimes that makes sense, but with 75 people, you can't spend a lot of time and energy with them. You don't necessarily get to know everybody's names, their life story. You don't get to spend like as much coaching. It's a class. It's a class where everybody's going through it together. So then at some point you launched your own mastermind, which I think was when you started to transition into high ticket, right? Was that the first step?
Yes. It was
Okay.
both. I did high ticket hybrid, basically.
Yeah.
Uh, Really similar to like the model that you have now, John, where I was like, hey, here's this program that I'm going to teach. I did it as a beta.
Mm-hmm.
So I just emailed the list. I was like, hey, if I just emailed all of our focus course customers. So I started with that list, and I was like, hey, if you run a business and you would like me to teach you the principles that are inside of the focus course that you've done, but you want me to teach them to you for your business, let me know. And from that, I think I got like 30 or 40 people that were like, yes, I would be interested in more. And so I just replied back and I was like, what do you like about the course, the focus course? What would you want from this as a business perspective? Got a little bit of feedback and then said, okay, here's the offer. It's going to be a 6 month, you know, beta program where I'll teach you this material. This is what we'll go through, and then each week we'll teach it, or I'll give you the material, and then we'll talk about it as a group. I'm going to limit
Mm-hmm.
it to 10 people. So it was 6 months, like beta mastermind. I charged $6,000 for
Okay.
it, and I was able to get 10 people to join that beta group. And then I didn't have the material yet.
Yeah.
I just told them, what we're going to do. And so my weeks for like those first like 3 months was I was dialoguing with them, asking for the feedback. I kind of had the rough outline for the
Mm-hmm.
flow that I wanted to go through. And then I just like made the course material in real time. I would record it and then edit the videos, upload it, and send it to everybody on Monday. I'd say, okay, now watch this one. And then we would meet on Thursdays to talk about it. So I was delivering the videos asynchronously by
Mm-hmm.
recording them, and then we would meet on Thursdays and talk about the material. And that actually worked pretty well.
Okay.
I was exhausted, but
Yeah.
then I created this whole course and got paid to do it.
Yeah.
So that's how that happened. And
That's
then I
great.
tried to sell it again, and then the crickets, and then John
Well, and
came
then,
along.
well, then, yeah. So what happened with the second time you went back to your list? Because this is, yeah. So this is the part of the story where we connect. But the second,
Yeah.
then you go back and you go to sell it again. You're like, this is working. The beta group is working. Like you said, it was exhausting, but you did spend a lot of time prepping this.
Yep.
And then what happened next?
So my model, what I wanted to do was, I was like, I would like to get people to join. They can join at any time. They come in, they can watch the videos on their own time, and they
Mm-hmm.
come to the live coaching call on Thursdays, and then we'll, talk about it. And so at any given time, you've got people at different stages,
Yeah,
but they're all sharing, and that was kind of like what I imagined it being.
totally.
Also, John, your advice to me as well of what I realized I was doing wrong. I had, this was the fall of 2022 is when I did the beta program. And then January of 2023 was when I tried to relaunch it to my email list. And I launched it the way that I've launched everything else, which is as a low ticket online course.
Right.
And so selling like a $5,000 or $6,000 premium VIP coaching package, the same way that you sell a $37 online course, like there's a huge disconnect there. And so
Yes.
I literally nobody signed up
Yeah. So you
at
did
all.
emails to a sales page and the whole like, yeah. Yeah,
Yep.
can you remember I know obviously the result, like you said, nobody signed up the second time you did it. Do you
Yep.
remember any other details you can share in terms of what you tried?
Um, I mean, I can't remember the details off the top of my head, but I
Sure.
probably did it like I've done everything else with launches like that, which is I had a list of people that had said they were interested because earlier, I had asked for the hand raise.
Yeah.
So at that point, I got like 50 initial people, but then over the course of time, I ended up with about 250 people that were on a wait list that
Mm.
were interested. So I just sent them the same emails that I had sent my beta group. I just kind of followed through with that and kind of treated it like a wait list or like a pre-launch list. Said, here's what's behind the scenes. Here's what we're going to do. Here's what you're going to accomplish. And then like I did like an open cart. Nobody bought. Like I sent other emails. I was like last call, da da da, and just like literally no
Yeah.
one bought. It was just nothing.
Yeah.
And so I ran I did a why
And
not
you were
buy.
totally cool with that. You were really cool with that, right?
I mean, yeah, I was like, oh, it doesn't matter. It was definitely like I was like, what am I missing? Like, something's
Yeah.
wrong here.
Yeah. Obviously,
Um,
I'm tongue in
yeah,
cheek. I'm sure that was a
yeah,
painful experience because like that part of so much of entrepreneurship and launching is like us putting ourselves out there and being like, it's like, will you buy my thing? And I am in therapy and recommend therapy, and I think there will forever also be a part of me that whenever I sell something that's like, do you like me? That's like that's not in the sales page, but that's the real question, right? And so
the
when
real
everybody
question.
said no to your offer, I'm sure that was really difficult from a cash flow perspective and also just painful, right?
It, I don't know. I mean, yes and no.
Okay.
It stunk. Yes.
Yeah.
I guess I've been doing business for long enough to know that if something's not working, there's a reason it's not working. And so let's figure it
Yeah.
out. Like, so it's like, okay, I have a new problem. I got to solve this problem now. And
That's
so
good.
it's just like, what's the problem of the month? And
Yeah.
that is just the way that business works. It's like, this worked. Cool. Let's learn from it and try to repeat it. Oh, this didn't work. Let's figure out why and not repeat it. And so,
Yeah.
um, it was a bummer and it would have been awesome to like have a big launch and, get another 60 grand in the bank or something like that. But for me, the cohort wasn't, it was the next thing on top. So it's always like,
Hmm.
this is the sustainable part of the business that's running without me. And then I feel like my job as the CEO is to go out there and design what's next for the business and
Yeah.
build the next thing. So it stinks to not have that, 50, 60, 75 grand in revenue from the cohort launch, but it's not like I didn't need it to pay the bills or to cover the need
Yeah.
for the business. Like it was like, okay, let's figure this out because I want to get this working so that we can then use this money to inject back into the business to grow. And then how can
I
we
love that.
scale this and make this repeatable?
Yeah,
Uh,
so I wanna break the fourth wall for a minute and just talk to everybody who's listening in live or if you watch the replay. I want you to capture what Shawn just shared because that is so much about what entrepreneurship is about. And so what I want you to do is like whether you're in the chat or the comments, depending on whether you're watching live or replay, I want you to share as we're going through like what your takeaways are. Whatever's sticking out to you like a useful takeaway, share it publicly. That helps all of us. I'll just say like one of mine is, what's the problem of the month? Is a question, Shawn, that you just asked, because I mean that's something I learned from originally from Michael Hyatt. I wrote about it in Survive and Thrive, that an entrepreneur solves a problem for a profit. That's what it means to be an entrepreneur. And so it's like, if there were any problems, we wouldn't need any entrepreneurs. So our job is like, we're choosing problems to solve. And so, but I like the way you phrase that. I'm just, okay, what's the problem of the month? That's a really, really good approach to take. So thank you for sharing that, Shawn. I appreciate it. Yeah. So, so now I'll come back to me. So like, this is the point where we met. Well, I mean, we'd already met in passing before. Like we knew each other, knew of each other, but we weren't like working together or like spending a lot of time together. But this was, then comes Craft and Commerce, 2023, I guess. Yeah, 2023. Craft and Commerce 2023. And I actually, this is the other conversation maybe you don't know about, but Christina Shear was texting me and she was like, do you know, is Shawn Blanc there? And I was like, yeah. And she was my assistant at the time. And she was like, she's like a Shawn Blanc super fan. And she was like, he needs your help. And I was like, what do you mean? She was like, see if you can get him to talk about his mastermind group. And so I literally like walked up to you. I was like, hey, Shawn, how's it going? And we just started chatting. And I was just like, what you been working on business-wise and that kind of stuff? And, you know, and I don't remember how it came up, but at some point I asked like, I heard you got the mastermind group. Like, how's that going? And you said, you're like, dude, it's been 9 months. I think it was 9 months or something like that, where you said of just crickets.
Yep.
And so that's where we connected, where I like, my job is to solve a problem. And at this point, Shawn, my problem that I needed to solve was your problem. So I was like, how do I politely say, let me help you? But I think what I just said was, I was like, well, what's going on? Well, I think I even asked like, well, how big's your audience? And you got a very large audience. Are you comfortable sharing any of those numbers?
Yeah, I'd be sharing any numbers. Yeah.
Yeah. Would you share a couple stats about your audience?
We have, so I think our email list right now is close to 50, 55, somewhere between in there, depending on how you
55,000, just to be clear, because there's some people in this, there's some people in this audience who only have 55 subscribers. So I just want to make sure that's clear.
So we're at 55,000 subscribers on the email list. I think in 2025 we're going to cross over our threshold of 20,000 customers that we've had over the years, which is pretty exciting. Like you said, I'm an OG on the internet, I guess. So I don't know, 13,000 on Twitter. A couple thousand on Instagram. Just getting started on LinkedIn. I've got like, I think 2 followers on LinkedIn right now. Like,
but that's
like literally 2.
Yeah. Yeah, that's more than I've got, because I delete all that. But yeah, so it's great. So you got it. I mean, even at this point, I think you maybe had 30 or 40,000 email subscribers. Like, it wasn't quite as big as it is now, but it was still like, you had a huge audience. And I asked you that, you mentioned that, and I was like, wow, so you promoted this like tens of thousands of people and you got no sales. And you said, yeah. And I knew this was like a quick, like, in passing conversation at the conference. So I knew my job was to like, just like try to like, just
so clearly.
Yeah. What do you remember? Yeah.
Honestly, I mean, not to like gush, but talking to you at Craft and Commerce, I remember that conversation vividly because it was in the main stage area and it was like we exchanged numbers. And I remember like, oh my gosh, John actually understands why I feel stuck. Like, he actually gets it. And there was something, because you're like, I help with like the high ticket group coach, sales. And I was like, this is literally exactly what's wrong with like, this is what I'm trying to solve.
Yeah.
John knows what I'm talking about. And he has a thing that can fix it. And I just felt like,
that's amazing.
You're like, would you like to get on a call? I'd love to, would you like to get on a complimentary coaching call? Little did I know.
Yeah, I know. I'm like, well, hey, like, why don't we just meet for like a free coaching call next week?
Yeah.
And just like workshop this, because it sounds to me like a positioning problem. And you were like, it is a positioning problem. It's exactly what it is. Yeah.
But I just felt so like, isn't it funny too? I mean, you were selling me, you were starting the sales process to get me to give you, because you were selling your program at that time, it was like 10 grand. And you're like, doing the thing. And I'm going like, oh my gosh, I am so grateful that John wants to chat and like listen to these things and chat with me. And I remember you even showed me like your notes from the serve call, because you're like, okay, here's what I'm hear you saying. And you like showed it to me like, wow, he's so organized and he's paying attention. He's listening to me. I just felt, I felt very seen. So.
Yeah, well, that's it. That's what it's about, Shawn. It's about helping people feel seen. So thank you for saying that, because like that's the whole goal of like everything I teach here is like, yes, we want to sell people, but we're selling people, we're helping them solve a problem, right? Like Shawn, you were at a point where you were like, this is a really frustrating problem, I don't know how to solve it. And I was like, I think I can help you. And like, let's jump on a free coaching call. And it was nothing but positive for you, because you were like, yes, this is exactly what I need. This is exactly what I want. let's go. We jumped on a free coaching call. I followed the serve call framework, which at the time I hadn't actually written a book on it. Like it was just something that I was practicing.
Yep.
And then invited you in and you joined. So you joined Sold Out Coach Club. When it was at the time a cohort of just like 10 people at a time. We worked together over 10 weeks. Live. There wasn't really a bigger community or anything like that there like there is now, or like a swipe file and all that kind of stuff. But I don't remember everybody was in your cohort, but I think Andrew O'Connell was in your cohort, wasn't he as
Yep.
well? Yeah. So
Yep.
he was also somebody I met at Craft and Commerce.
Yep.
And it's a great crowd. So yeah, so you joined Sold Out Coach Club, and then I mean, this is a little self-serving to be like, and then tell me how your life dramatically changed. But I mean, like that's what we're in the business of, like helping people. So tell me a bit of what happened next. So you joined Sold Out Coach Club, and yeah,
It's
maybe
funny.
this
I
is
was
also
looking.
yeah.
Let me look at my notes here because
Okay.
I did the beta and
Yeah.
so 2 years ago I did that beta. And like then crickets, like we had one person join, and the
Yeah.
one person that did join later was a referral from someone who's in the program, and so she even came in through like the side door.
Yeah.
And then nothing. So basically, I had 12 months of no sales for the high ticket program.
Yeah.
Now with you that summer, and then in September I had my first cohort, so sold that out. In January I had a sold out cohort. May I had a sold out cohort. Then July, and this is, we'll probably get into this.
Yeah.
So I had 3 sold out cohorts in a row. Boom, 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 boom.
Which just
Okay.
let's just pause for a second and just say, well done. I mean,
Thank
amazing.
you.
That's all you, right? I'm just here to help, but you did the work, and that's a huge accomplishment. 3 Sold Out
So I went
cohorts in
from,
a
yeah,
row.
so I literally went from
Yeah.
nothing to then, those, and then
Well,
those
and
3 cohorts.
how many people were in your first cohort? Because I seem to remember it was a lot.
My first beta program was 10.
No,
And
I
the
mean,
first
okay.
cohort that I did off of you, well, it kind of depends on how you do it because I had my mastermind community. So I invited all of them to come
Oh,
through it
gotcha.
again. So I actually ended up with closer to 20 total.
Yeah,
But about half of those people were in my mastermind. So we went through it.
totally.
They got to go through it again. Plus, I had the 10 spots that I had sold.
That makes sense.
So 10 sold, 10 sold, 10 sold, those 3 in a row.
At what price point?
So the first one was $2,000. And then the second 2 were at 4,500. So
Amazing.
altogether, I made $100,000 within whatever, 6 months, 9 months of going through your thing.
Yeah.
So I 10x
Yeah.
my investment in your thing right off the bat.
That's awesome. Yeah. Yeah, no, I love that. So, and we'll get into, well, and then go ahead and share, because you started to share a little bit, then like what's happened since then. So I know we were just talking about that earlier this week, but so after 3 sold out cohorts,
it's definitely slowed down. So
yeah,
that fall, then the January one, then the spring one, all 3 sold out, roughly. So it's, $20,000 for that first one, because 10 people at 2,000 a pop. And then $40,000 for the next 2, because then I had 10 people at the 4,500 a pop. Then in July, we did like a 2-day boot camp version of it. And I only got 4. I was only able to get 4 people to sign up. Would it be easier to like?
Yeah, you can share your screen.
Numbers? I have it all.
Please.
I typed it out.
Yeah, go for it.
All right.
Thank you for
yep.
pulling back the curtain or opening the hood, depending upon which metaphor you want to use.
All right. So this was that beta group where we had those people, and then the January with the one person, and then crickets. So then September, June, and May, right? So the way that this worked is, so I had 13 total. Actually, I had closer to 20. But I'm not counting like my mastermind group of people that let come in for free. So I comped 2 people. I have one good friend that I wanted to jump through it, and then I had one person where, and we can get into this later, John, if you want. But I've also noticed that the high ticket coaching program is a phenomenal like networking tool. So I trades with people and comping people. So I was able to comp this guy, Dan Mall, who's a very well-known, respected designer in the industry, a friend of mine. I was like, hey, come through and do this thing. So he jumped in, he gave me this glowing testimonial, did a phenomenal like video review for me, and then helped spread the word. And he got me like 4 or 5 more people to come in to my next 2 from him alone. So
amazing.
That was so that's awesome. So there's a lot of value in that. I had one person who joined my mastermind, and then I let them come for free. So technically this was like 5,000, but that's a different thing. And then I had 10 people that paid the 2,000. So $20,000 cash and revenue from that one. Then amazing. January, again, like same thing, 10 total cohort members. One of them I comped, and then 9 people paid the 4,500. May, similar. I had someone go through that was training to be one of my facilitators. So I had him come through and participate as if an attendee, but then taking notes to learn how to facilitate it. And then in July, this guy that learned the facilitation, he came in, actually, he taught this one in July. So I didn't have to do that one, which was
Oh,
awesome.
cool.
But July was difficult. I had a hard time getting people to join.
Yeah.
So we opened it up. And I'm actually going to probably do this every year now. So basically, once a year, when we do this as a 2-day boot camp, as opposed to
Hmm.
a 4-day group coach program, the 2-day boot camp moves a lot quicker. And so it's more like a group class as opposed to a
Yeah.
coach program. And so it opens itself up a little bit more to having more people in the room. So I opened this up. I said, hey, everyone, anyone who's come, so any alumni who've been through the program up to this point, so all these people from
Yeah.
all the previous ones, which is about, I think, 30 or 40 at the time. I was like, you're all welcome to come and do this one for free. So I had 11 alumni jump in
Oh,
and join,
cool.
and then I had 4 people that paid. And part of the reason I did this was because no one was buying. Like I was
Yeah.
having trouble getting this July cohort to sell.
And you were doing the same things, right? Like hand raiser to serve call. Yeah. Okay.
Hand raisers to serve calls, showcases.
Yeah.
For one of these, I think for the September one, I did a webinar of like a training webinar for business owners, like as a free workshop. And then from that, I tried to pitch the course and then said, if you're interested, let's book a serve call. That didn't really go anywhere, but I think you've got some ideas for probably how I did it
I
wrong,
do.
which I'd love to hear.
Yeah.
So, so that was July. Then September, this was, now we're back in a year in. And again, like very difficult. I almost wasn't even able to do the September one. I only had one person a week
Mm.
out. I had one person. So I had to email them and I was like, look, here's where we're at. You're the only person signed up right now. And I was like, I'd like to push it back by 2 weeks and I'm going to see if we can get a few more people to jump in. If I can't, then I'll do a one-on-one group session with you or like a private
Yeah.
version of this, because I'll do, some people hire me like, hey, can I just go through it on my own time and work with you one-on-one? So I usually do that for a couple of people at a time. So I offered that. I was able to get a few more people to jump in to do it. And then I was able to get like one person I comped, again, like a higher level person who helped with a case study. One person from my mastermind jumped in to do it again. And then one person who had signed up earlier that year, but then couldn't make it because of scheduling conflict. I offered them to be able to come
Yeah.
back and redo it. So I ended up with 6 total people in the September one, and with 3 of them that paid. So I got 13.5 for revenue from that. But several people that I talked to in September, they're like, I'd love to do this, but I can't do it in September. Can you do it in November? And I was like, sure. So I ended up, I've got one that's literally next week. All those people were like, no, never mind, except for like one. So I had one guy who's like in. So
Yeah.
I literally, for the last
Yeah.
September, October, I was just busting my butt trying to get anybody in the door.
Mm.
For this November one, I got one email response and like, whatever, I'm just laying it all out here. I sent
Yeah.
out the hand raisers. I only got one response to my hand raiser. Like one person responded. So I couldn't even get a serve call on the books.
Yeah.
Like nothing. So I
Well,
did a
yeah.
lot of work to try to get this one even just at the 3 people who are paying. And so
Yeah,
I reached out to
just to be
several.
clear, Aisha asked a great question. When you say you got one response, was that a hand raiser you sent to like all 55,000 people?
I have, yeah, so I've got 2 segments in my list. I've got like the full list itself, and then which actually, when that full list goes out, not all of those people are, some of that list is different. So it's technically like 48,000. It's not 55.
Sure.
Whatever. And then I have a business owner only segment, which we're still
Yeah.
building up. Like a lot of the data behind that and the segmentation is pretty rough. So the business owner only segment is like 1,000 or so, which
So
is
that's
not
the
fully,
but
it's not fully
which
developed.
segment did you send the hand raiser to that got one reply?
So I sent several hand raisers to the full list,
Yeah.
but we have like I mentioned in my win for the week, is we have our huge launch today for Plan Your Year, which is kind of our primary gateway product. And so we have, we'll sell 1,000 or 2,000 of these workbooks in the next couple of weeks. And so this is our huge launch. And so I
Mhm.
didn't want to atrophy my list too
Sure.
much promoting the November cohort when I had the Plan Your Year thing coming up. So I sent a couple of hand raisers to the full list. with no response, and then several hand raisers just to the business owner segment alone, and again only with one response.
Got it. Got it. Yeah,
So
thank you. That's
yeah,
super helpful. And well,
for sure.
and I also want to be like I appreciate you sharing all of this because the reality is whenever we bring somebody in to tell like a spotlight story, I think all of us, every single person wants it the story to be like up and to the right. That it's just like I did all these things and magically everything was successful forever. But the reality is, it's just what's the problem of the month? And
Yep.
this is the right. This is a problem that a real problem. One thing I wanted to call attention to there, I want to make sure I understood, is those dates again. So you said the first one was
Oh, here, let me go.
September of last year, right?
Yep.
Yeah. So how many? So that's one. Let's see, one since then. So one cohort, and two, three, four. Can you scroll down a little bit? Five, six. So six. Well, five cohorts in a year, right? And then now a sixth one. Is that right?
Yep. Yeah,
Okay,
six
cool.
cohorts basically
Yeah,
since September of last year to now.
yeah, super helpful. So I want to actually just like pause and just like I want to share my screen. I want to like kind of share something about that in terms of so my diagnosis because obviously like everybody's like want to know like how do we not right? How do we learn? Shawn, I want you to learn from this, but I also want everybody else to be encouraged that that you can continue to sell your coaching program. It's not just like you sell it and then you're done, right? Because sometimes things have to change. And so I will say when I first started selling group coaching programs, I didn't know about some of the more. I didn't know that you need about some of the other tools you need out of your toolbox because I had a similar experience with Shawn that my first few cohorts kept selling out. I was like, awesome. Let's just take this thing and let's just repeat it. But a few things happen. So can you thumbs up if you can see my screen? Should be able to.
I can
Yes?
see it.
Good. Okay, great. All right. So let's imagine for a second that we have this whole crowd of people over here, right? So these are all the people who are on your email list. I'm not going to draw 55,000 of them, but you get the idea, right? So there's maybe we'll make this as smiley faces instead. So there's some people on who are on your email list. So what happens is when you send a hand raiser, which is one of the first techniques we always start with when we're launching a program, when you send a hand raiser, you're essentially what you're doing is you're inviting people on that list to raise their hand and say, "That's me." So what happens is of those people, some of them will tell you, they're like, that's me. I'm your target client. And so in doing so, when that happens, they come over here and they join your program, right? So this is happy program land where there's income and impact and they're joining your program. But over time, out of that existing list, a lot of those people who are super fans who have they have total belief in the problem that you want to help them solve, that you are the person who can help them, there's a problem that matters to them, all of those things. A lot over time, what happens is those people actually join your program and therefore they're not in your audience. Now that means a couple different things have to happen. One of them is that the reality is you typically have some other people who are joining your audience all the time, right? So Shawn, you probably have like new leads coming in. So what right now, do you do anything special to new leads related to your group coaching program? I'm guessing the answer is no.
The answer is no-ish.
Okay.
So um, we've we spent quite a bit of money on paid lead acquisition. So we've started doing Facebook ads over the last 18 months or so.
Okay.
And so from that, we've on our list for, I think we're at 40,000 when you and I spoke in summer 2023. We're at closer to that 55,000 now. So about 12
Yeah.
to 15,000 new leads from Facebook. Um, but realizing, hey, some of them aren't business owners. And so we're in the process now of trying to go, okay, we need a better lead acquisition system that's specifically targeting business owners and bringing
Yeah.
them in, and then trying to get them into, to hand raise through that way. So
Yeah. Got it.
what you're
Cool.
saying here is huge. And like you're saying, like a big problem becomes top of funnel when you're trying to
Yeah.
look to do this sustainably. Yeah.
Yeah. So one of the first things that I think that this is like a tactical recommendation that I've found to be super helpful with my own audience is creating basically including hand raisers in my welcome automation for new subscribers so that new subscribers, as they're coming in, you're immediately able to identify of those who is your target client already, and what then you're able to immediately bring those people over into your group coaching program land right away. So I have this now, like I have a whole automation now of hand raisers that sends out every 2 weeks to new subscribers. And so right away you'll find someone will join, and sometimes they join and they already know, right? Like immediately they're like, yes, I like you. I want to learn from you. This is a problem. Help me. But the reality is most people don't. So then they end up, well, we're dragging up problems. Okay, then they end up here in the rest of your list, right? Where you kind of filter at the door, you're filtering some people into your group coaching program based on when they're joining your list. So that's one of the first things you could do is have that that onboarding process that includes hand raisers for new subscribers as they're coming in. But the next thing is what do you do with that audience that's not ready to buy just yet? And that's where we need to look for ways to add belief. Have you read yet "Simple Marketing for Smart People" by Billy Boas, by any chance?
Yes, I actually literally just finished it like
Oh
2 weeks
yeah,
ago.
okay. Well, great. So then you're familiar with like what he talks about. I think he does a great job of just like outlining and explaining like so much of the process of enrolling people into your world is stacking beliefs. Like, what do they have to believe to become your target customer?
Mm-hmm.
That's especially true with the group coaching program because there's such a premium price tag attached to it. And so this is where now you can go back over here to this audience and say, okay, I need to go back to this list. And we often use the term nurture, and that's true. But really what we're doing is saying, like, how do we help the people in this list who are our target client get the right beliefs to be ready for the coaching program? And so that's a key thing. Now, tactically, what that looks like is that's where like a belief building workshop can be super useful in terms of a workshop that specifically it looks different than like a typical like webinar, but you're specifically making a list of like what are the core beliefs that I need someone to 100% buy into before they're ready to join my program.
Yeah.
And so for me, that's like I have a belief building workshop where I've got like 3 core beliefs, and like one of them is, let's see, stop selling time, start selling promises. You know, and one of them is, let's see if I can remember off the top of my head. Annette, I'm putting you on the spot, Annette. I don't know if you remember. So I don't have it in front of me. Do you remember off the top of your head what the other 2 are for the Wisdom and Wealth
It,
workshop?
wisdom and say that again. Which part?
The 3 promises. It's okay if you don't remember. But it's
Oh,
stop
yeah,
selling
yeah.
time, start selling promises, and then do you remember the other 2?
No, I can look it
Okay,
up.
don't worry about it. No, don't worry about it. Oh, I remember now. Thank you. You bought me time. Stop selling medicine, start selling the cure, which I know, Shawn, is something we've talked a lot about, and many of you have heard me talk about this. And then the third is stop selling petty, start selling premium. And I tell like a tragic story in there about Michael Lardy, who was a past client who was really focused on building his business from the bottom up of like gateway products and membership products. And ultimately he gave up, even though his business had literally been saving lives because he only sold $19 products. So I stopped selling petty, start selling premium. For me, those are the 3 beliefs that I'm like, if you in that workshop and you're like, all right, I'm all in. I need to sell the cure. I need to sell promises, and I'm ready to sell premium. Now you're ready for me to have a conversation with you. But I don't just go for all the hundreds of people that sign up for that workshop. I don't invite all of them to a serve call. Instead, what I do is then I invite them all to take an assessment. So for me, that's the Smart Scan assessment. And many of you who are here live tuned in, we just did a guest workshop with Magpie about assessments last week. So that's also available in the Sold Out Coach Club library in terms of resource of diving deep into that. But those 2 things are basically taking that audience and preparing them for a high quality serve call. So we're using a workshop that's specifically designed to build belief and leads to an assessment that qualifies how committed they are and how much they believe that basically. And then this brings that people into now the serve call, now the sale. But what's cool about this is that I found there's a lot of people on my list, and I've seen this now with other lists too, that just they weren't responding to other initiatives like hand raisers and things or showcases that, or maybe they did respond but they didn't convert. But this gets both. This gets people who previously didn't respond at all and people who didn't convert, and then brings them in. So now all of a sudden it allows you to bring more people into this world. So those would be the 2 kind of things that I would really say is like really critical that can make a huge difference in terms of adding people into your cohorts. Now, I have another piece of advice or criticism that I want to give you, but before I do that, I want to ask for you, Shawn. I want to pause real quick and ask, like, what questions do you have about this?
Yeah, this is great. I know the first thing that comes to my mind, I'm literally over here like taking notes as well.
Good.
Um, I know for me, it's challenging. I would imagine a lot of other folks feel the same way. When you're so familiar with your own stuff,
Yeah.
it's hard to identify, because you and I talked about this on Tuesday. You called it the 3 meaningful milestones,
Yes.
or like the 3 core beliefs. And
Yeah.
I've literally been noodling on this since then. I'm like, okay, what are the 3 meaningful milestones? Like for me, as someone who runs my business on part-time hours, what were the milestones that I needed to reach that have gotten me here? And then for the clients that I've worked with who've been able to actually get to that space for themselves as well, what were the milestones that they needed? So I've been turning on this, but it's like, it gets very into like the medicine.
Yeah.
And when I hear you talking about like the core beliefs, I'm like, oh, there's something deeper there. So this isn't a question, but this is my observation of like, I'm not sure I could articulate the core beliefs that I think someone needs to have to make them ready to buy this.
Well, I can tell you one that I think is already implied in your 10x promise. So right now your 10x promise is when you're full-time business working part-time hours or working a part-time schedule, right?
Yep.
That tells me that one of the beliefs baked into that is that you should have the freedom to work a part-time schedule, right? To you, that's like obvious and implied. But you mentioned to me before that sometimes you meet people and they're like, well, but like I want to work full-time. I want to work 40 hours. And you're like, yes, but I'm going to quote you and go back to earlier today where you talked about the fact that your job is to have a team in place that runs the day-to-day baseline so you can go solve the next problem to grow the company. But you can only do that if you're not working full-time on the day-to-day operations, right?
Yeah.
So that, for me, that's one of the critical beliefs that I think you do sell. It's just for you, it's obvious, right? What do you think about that?
I love that framing. Literally,
Good.
Didn't put those two together.
Yeah, good. I'm glad that's helpful. So one other thing I want to say though, that this is just a word of caution about the whole. I mean, it's built into the name of my program, right? Sold Out Coach Club. Part of the goal here is I want you to build your reputation as a sold out coach, but you are doing a couple things that currently compete with that. So I just want to call attention to them.
Please
Life
do.
and business is a choose your own adventure, right? So you can still choose to continue doing these things. But when you have 6 cohorts in a year and someone who's paying attention sees that, it was the 6 cohorts in a year. Did I get that right? Or was it 5 cohorts in a year?
I mean, 6 since September, yes.
Yeah. So we'll call it, September to September, we'll call it 5, right? So 5 cohorts in a year. And these are pretty close together, right? They're a few months apart. What that does is that starts to train your audience. There will always be another cohort. And so the scarcity becomes less important to them because there will always be another chance. And that's true. But when it's really close together, it starts to lose its value. The other thing you're doing is you mentioned that you're still selling one-on-one coaching as well, separate from that, right? You said, is that like a standard offer? Or is that just kind of like?
I only do that when folks ask for it specifically.
Okay.
So
yeah.
It's not promoted or talked about anywhere.
Yeah. Well, so that's one thing where that's a choice, but even if you don't talk about it publicly, when someone asks for it, a lot of times that's where you got to make a choice, right? You can just say like, nope, I don't offer one-on-one coaching, but you should join this program. And some of those people who are currently taking up one-on-one would probably join your group coaching program if you told them that was the only way to work with you. So that's a choice. You have to decide your line, but that's something that's working against you there. That's kind of, I created this whole like empty page to write 5 cohorts, but that's the kind of the main thing I wanted to emphasize is the fact that part of being a sold out coach is the reputation management of like people want what they can't have, but you got to make it clear. You're like, hey, this program is sold out. It's going to do well if we have another one. I'll also share just a couple seasonal things, just so you know that's like that I've seen across the industry. July and August are typically the hardest months, period, in every industry that I've seen to sell a group coaching program. It can still be done. I've done it. You've done it. You just didn't hit your goals. But my experience is like summer months are really, really difficult, especially July and August, to sell group coaching programs. So just be aware of that. And then the second thing I wanted to mention, or third or fourth, I guess I'll stop counting, was when you mentioned that when you were selling the September cohort, you had quite a few people that said like, I really want to do this, but can you do it in November? At the point that they said that, did you ask them to pay a deposit?
For November?
Mm-hmm.
Well, at the time, I wasn't even going to do one in November. I was like,
okay.
They're like, I can't do this in September. Are you going to offer one later in the year? And I was like, no, this is the one we're doing. And they're like, well, I can't. Let me know if there's another one.
Okay, gotcha. Yeah, and that's one way to like hold the line. But what I've had great success with always having the next cohort on the calendar. So when someone says I can't do it, it's a bad time, I'm like, that's okay. We've got one starting in January. Would you like to pay a deposit and join right now? And you'll find out pretty quickly who is using that as a polite way to say no and just saying like it's not a good time. Because then they'll usually tell you, they're like, okay, no, honestly, I don't think I'm gonna do it. You're like, okay, now we have a real answer, right? Or I mean, this just happened to me. I guess this was like beginning of October. I was meeting with somebody and they're like, I really want to join your program, but I just like can't right now. It's not a good time. I was like, well, what about January? They're like, January is great. I was like, great. Here's a link to pay the deposit, and they pay the deposit 3.5 months in advance. And I was like, okay, all right, but you know, I took them at their word and they're in. So I think that's just something to keep in mind that I think would be useful to you as well.
Yeah.
Yeah. So Shawn, what's your most useful takeaway from this little exercise we just did live?
I think seeing for you like the top of funnel stuff, and then doing a better job at nurturing those people with the belief building stuff. You know, I've got a lot of emails that we've sent out that talk a lot about the tactics and tell stories and hit on pain points, but I don't think I'm doing as good of a job with the belief building thing. And I like your strategy of having that workshop that points then to the business assessment. Like we've got a couple of different assessment tools that we use,
Yeah.
but I haven't used them very well yet for the high ticket stuff. We used them more for the like the mid ticket
Yeah.
stuff.
Yeah. Yeah.
So I like the idea of repurposing those on the, run the workshop into the assessment and then using that to kind of nurture those folks into the high ticket stuff. I like
Awesome. I love that. No, that's good. I would love, Shawn, real quick, if you would share some of the assets you've used to sell your program. I think you've got like your pitch deck or any other resources you have.
Yeah.
So in a minute, we're going to open it up to just questions. So if you already have a question for Shawn, please go ahead and raise your hand and start a queue. But before we do that, Shawn, I would love it if you just be willing to just show off for a minute of like share what you've got. That's going to be useful to us because I think that'd be great to see.
Yeah. I'll start with this one. This is my little swipe file. This has been so helpful for me, just in sending emails and whatnot. So this is just in Notion, because we send a lot of the same types of emails over and over and over and over again. So I've got some thoughts on here, like just pain points that I'm noticing from my serve calls, things that people are looking for, things like that. Different emails that worked well. So I've got subject lines, and then I kind of just like mix and match. So some of these, John, they're straight from you, right? Like, can you help? Hey, after whatever, getting back from my summer sabbatical, or after selling out my program, like, you know anyone like this? So I've got these ones, which I know are familiar.
Yeah.
This is my quote unquote one a 10x.
1 to 10x. Yeah.
Yep. Hey, you're interested. What's funny is I sent this. A lot of people thought that I was offering was to come in and be a fractional COO. And I said, would you be working with me so you can run your full-time business while you're working part-time schedule? They thought I was going to come in and then be their fractional COO.
Okay, wait, Shawn, let me just actually give that. Thank you for sharing that. I've had a couple people who have had issues with this hand raiser, and I've started when that happens, just add the phrase "as your coach" after the word "me." So, would you be interested in working with me as your coach? Because I had the same thing where I had some people who replied to my hand raiser and they were like, "Yeah, here's my resume," and I'm like, "No, like I'm not going to hire you." Like,
yes, I've had a couple of people too, like, "Oh, I didn't know you're hiring." Yeah,
I'm like, "Well, I'm not. No, I'm hiring clients, but you have to pay me." So, yeah.
So some of these, these are some of the email, like the hand raiser emails that have worked well for me. And then I've got like some of the follow up stuff, right? So it's like different options for this, but then also like when they have like sent me, it's like, okay, now what am I going to say back to them? Or like, just being able to come here and grab something and drop it back in. This has been really helpful. Like if people like, I don't know, John, I know you've probably experienced this. People like, yes, I'm in. Like I literally had one guy who was like, I would love to do your program and I want to book you for coaching afterwards. It was like an $8,000 thing. And he was like, I'm super interested, send me the link.
Yeah.
Never heard from him again.
Yeah.
And it's just like, okay,
and who knows? I think there will forever be people like ghosting. I think there will forever be some segment of our audience that ghosts us. We just don't know why. Yeah. But I had one this week, Shawn, I'll just tell you, where somebody replied to a hand raiser and she was like, yes, I want to do this and I'd love to book a call with you. And I replied back and I was like, hey, have to book a call with you. This wasn't even a ghost. This was a no-show. So I replied back, I was like, just to be clear, I want to make sure you're super committed because we had a scheduled coaching call a couple months ago, but I noticed you didn't show up for it. And she was like, oh yeah, we got in a car crash and I was in the hospital for a week with my kids and I didn't think to reply and let you know. And I'm like, oh my gosh, that's fine. Like, like, so sometimes there's like a really, legitimate reason like that. But
Yeah.
yes, Drew just shared, actually, that's also my favorite ghost response. Have you given up on this project yet? I think I got that out of Never Split the Difference by Chris Voss. He mentions that that's his like email,
Okay.
that like his go-to. Yeah. Have you given up on this project? That's another good one to keep for ghosting.
So anyway, so these
Yeah.
are the emails that I send, that I use, and we've got a few others, but this is kind of like
That's
the
great.
swipe file. And then
Love that.
so after, if I've got the serve call, then John, you worked with me quite a bit as well to put together the pitch deck,
Yeah.
so to speak. And then do you know Clay Hebert?
I don't, other than we just talked about him a month. Or,
Oh, that's right. That's
Tuesday,
right. I
whatever.
asked you about him already.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
So I
But
had
he
to review
upgraded the
this,
design of yours, right?
worked with
Yeah.
Clay, and so this is the pitch deck, and I'll just kind of take you guys through this, and then I'm happy to answer any questions we have.
Yeah.
So after my serve call, I used to take people through the pitch deck on the serve call, and then John, you kind of cautioned me not to do that. Instead, just go like, "Hey, after hearing ABC, I have a high ticket or I have a program where I work with people to run their full time business on a part time schedule. Does that sound like it'd be helpful to you? If yes,
Yeah.
okay. Well, here's what we do. We build this. We build this. We build this. Is that what you're looking for? Yes. Okay. Would you like to join? So I just stopped showing them the slide deck and instead just asking those high level questions instead.
Yeah.
So anyways, so I send, if they say no, or they're like, let me think about it, which for me, my close rate on the serve calls, I would say is probably like 15 or 20%. Most, maybe not even that, maybe 10%. I would say the vast majority of people don't give me a deposit when we're on the serve call.
Oh, I see what you're saying. You're not total close rate, but just like on the call. Yeah.
Yeah, on the call. Yep. And then from the serve calls themselves, I would say probably like 30 to 40% of people then end up buying from there.
And if you add a commitment score question to your assessment, that should go higher. Just to mention that. But yeah.
I love that.
Yeah.
So okay, so then after the serve call, I do the follow-up email and I'm like, hey, love chatting with you, excited, Here is an overview of the whole program for you, so you can know what we do. And there's some great stories in here. I think I pulled some stuff from Dustin. Dustin's follow-up email is pretty cool. Like, you should check out the stories, etc. And then all the details are in here. And then 2, here's the link. I'll send this to you guys too, by the way. Let me just grab this.
Yeah, please do.
So you guys can peruse this later as well. So and then I give them the link to the deposit as well, and then send them in that email. So I start out a little bit with the problem, like distracted CEOs, so this might be one of my core beliefs to instill, is that like, if you have shiny object syndrome as a business owner, then you'll never be able to grow. And so I just talked about your
business is calling SOS, shiny object syndrome. So,
yeah, I love it.
Yeah.
And it's basically going, the mature business owner is very clear on what works for their business, and a mature business owner does that on repeat because your business is not your hobby. And so that's my other one. Like, your business is not your hobby.
Yeah, there you go. Just listen to yourself. Yeah.
Just listen to myself. I need a recording of this so I can come back and transcribe.
You'll get it. You'll get it. Yeah. Yeah.
So I kind of start with this, and then I go, okay, so which of the CEOs are you? And the framework that we teach inside the program is basically, there's this healthy productivity framework. And so we talk about identifying what matters, planning for it, following through, and then celebrating your progress. And then when you fail to do those, then you're in a dysfunctional productivity cycle. So we get into that in the program. But I've pulled out and kind of like anthropomorphized each of those steps of the dysfunctional productivity and turned them into different types of CEOs.
Yeah.
Like the CEO of overwhelm, which means like you have 0 feedback loops, right? You're the CEO of stuck. Like, you're not clear on what matters. You're the CEO of control. Like, you stink at delegating. Or CEO of overthinking. Like, you actually don't follow through and do stuff. You can't execute. You're always doing a bunch of stuff. So we'll hit on this as a pain point, and then what if you
wait real quick? Scroll up to that last line, Shawn. Yeah. I just want to say, if y'all understand why Shawn and I get along so well, why he's such a great addition to this community. Yes, it's his teaching. Yes, it's his coaching, and also his program's called Focus Like a Boss, and at the bottom there's a dad joke that says "Stop calling me Frankly." So I think you can see like this is why Shawn and I get along great. Yeah.
Thank you.
So I just want to call that out.
All right. Then, what if you could replace this with this?
Yeah.
So these are some of the main, again, and then this fits with the framework that I'm teaching. Is like I take people through like these 4 things as part of the program. So then I talk about my struggle of like, for me working lots of hours, and even after I quit that job and started working for myself, I was still working a lot of hours, still treating my business like a hobby. And so going, hey, I really want to have lots of breathing room and have margin. So here's how I did it. This is my premium program. Here's what we accomplish. So build your business. These are the 3 promises. I think, John, I built all
so actually
this working with you.
Shawn, this is what I would call your 3 meaningful milestones. This part, just so you know, like that. Yeah. That's great.
And this is what we do. This is what we go through inside the program. So build a business mission map where there's clarity about why you exist, where you're going, and what you're going to do about it. Designing the $1 million schedule, and then the focus system, where you've got now this simple, achievable system. So we talk about that. A few things that we do inside, and then I just have a whole bunch, like just Dustin style of just like testimonial after testimonial after testimonial. So a bunch of these.
Love that.
Trying to scroll too fast and no one gets sick. And then, then a little bit more, like here's some more details, a few extra bonuses, and then, then the details for pricing, when it's happening, things like that. And then just a big button to sign up.
Yeah, love it. Okay, so Shawn, now that I've seen this though, it's beautiful and I love it. And I do wonder, when did you introduce this version of your pitch deck? Do you remember? Like which cohort?
I want to say like it was pretty soon. Like when I saw yours, I was super inspired. So it might have been for that first September one, or it might have been the January. But it was.
Well, no. I have for your previous pitch deck because I actually use it as an example. I'm just wondering like this version, the like upgraded version.
Oh, this. I started using this right after July. So
when your cohorts stopped selling as well?
Right after that July one set down, yes.
So I know there's a lot of factors involved in the last couple of cohorts struggling, but let me just say, even though this is beautiful, what I teach about the pitch decks is very much like we want to go like promise, milestones, testimonials like crazy. Mm-hmm. A lot of those slides, I think you could probably move them towards the end and come up with testimonials a lot sooner. But it seems to me like you're trying to do belief building in the pitch deck. But the pitch deck is after we've already built all the beliefs, we've had a serve call, we're just trying to close the deal. And we really just want to focus on any objections that might come up, like believability. And so I'm a little concerned that all the extra slides in your current pitch deck might actually be introducing objections, or just someone going like opening it and going like, oh, there's a lot of detail, I better come back to this later, and then losing him. Mm. So even though all that content's good, I would personally probably rather have that content on like a sales page, for example, that's like before a serve call where we're doing more belief building. And I would have the pitch deck be more focused on the promise and the testimonials. And which you could, because it is beautiful. So you could do that simply by just moving a lot of the testimonials up to like slide 2 or 3. But I think that would make a difference as well.
Yeah, no, I love that. That's great feedback.
Yeah, good. You got it. All right, Shawn, thank you.
Yeah, I couldn't even get people on a serve call. So some of those people weren't even seeing that pitch deck anyways.
Yes. Well, maybe that's actually where taking some of that belief building content that's in there and moving that somewhere else might actually be super useful. So I now have a sales page on my website that the call to action is to book a free coaching call with me if you're interested for Sold Out Coach Club. But it's literally just a belief building page. Like it's literally like it's not a lot about the product details. It's a lot of the stuff you have in that slide deck, honestly. And most people never see that. But for some people join straight from there, book a call and then join. So what I'd love to do now is open it up to the community, everyone who's here live. And remember, those of us who are here live, those of you who are here live, please remember, each of you speaks for at least 5 people in terms of people who are watching the recording, who are not here live, who don't have the ability to jump on and ask a question. So I would love to know what questions do you have for Shawn about this as you're thinking selfishly about your own program. We're not, it's not just a study of Shawn. This is like, hey, let's take what we can learn from Shawn's experience and use that to grow our own program. So please raise your hand if you would like to come on live and ask a question for Shawn. And then if you don't have a question, I would love for you to share in the chat what your most useful takeaway was from this training today. And I'll scroll back and highlight a few of the ones that we've heard today. I think, by the way, you inspired Monique. She's going to come up with like a, what kind of singer are you? She's got a program on helping professional singers unlock their signature sound to become an unforgettable singer. And so I couldn't help but put in the chat, a cringy crooner has got to be one of the categories of the singers you don't want to be.
That's awesome.
Yeah, but I love that. Let's see, what other takeaways? Monique said, put the next cohort on the calendar. Drew said, too many cohorts in a year can diminish urgency. It's true. It's a trade-off, right? Nick mentioned that's why he planned a sabbatical in August, because he knew it was going to be a slow month for his business. And then we got be careful of competing strategies. How do we help them get the right beliefs? Include hand raisers in your email sequence for new subscribers. Yeah, so many good takeaways. Thank you so much. So amazing. All right, let's bring Nate up here first. Nate, I would love to know, what question do you have?
Yeah, my question is, what would you, or what do you apply from what you teach about productivity to everything that you have done with group coaching side of things and your business?
Like taking the productivity principles and how I use some of that stuff and then applied it to the way that I run my program specifically? Or meaning,
Sure. Yeah, because I mean, everyone wants to be more productive, right? There's a reason a lot of productivity stuff sells.
Mhm.
So, from an expert, what has helped you? And you've done this process as well. So I am curious if there's anything more specific to this process you feel is really helpful for you.
Yeah. Nate, I like that. So the core thing that we teach in Focus Like a Boss, and basically because my 10x promise is run your full-time business on a part-time schedule. And for a lot of folks, what that actually looks like is a ton of busy work, a ton of stuff that they're doing that actually doesn't matter. And I don't know if you've heard like the adage, the joke of like 50% of my marketing works. I just don't know which 50%.
Yeah.
And so there's a lot that we're doing, or a lot of these people are doing, but they don't know what's actually moving the needle forward. They don't know what's needed, what could go away, whatever. So we go through a process of getting very clear on picking one specific goal for the business, because you've got to have a problem in your business that you can attack. Like there's got to be something that you can say, this is what I'm going toward. And so we go through a process to get clear on that. And then you say, okay, now how am I actually going to achieve that? What's the one thing that I need to do to make that happen? And so that's what, if you saw on the pitch deck, one of the milestones was your $1 million schedule. And the way that the $1 million schedule works is you're clear on one specific goal, and then you have one repeatable action or one repeatable chunk of time every day or every week. Ideally, it's every day that you're dedicated to working on towards that goal. And so with that, you're going, okay, now I know the highest leverage use of my time as the business owner. So that way you can go, this is the best use of my time and it's protected at all costs. And this is how I define success for the day. So often once you're able to get clear on that, then all this other just stuff that was busy work or shallow work or was no longer actually wasn't doing anything or was distracting you from whatever that critical action would be, a lot of that stuff can now be delegated out to an assistant, or you could stop doing it altogether, or you could find ways to automate it or do less of it and then spend all your time on this core activity. We call that critical action. So with the productivity stuff that I teach, it's getting very clear on what matters most and then deciding what are you going to do about that. And so as a business owner, if you can clarify that, we work with people that have small teams, and a lot of times there's no clarity amongst the team. Like nobody knows why this business actually exists. Like, well, I guess we just want to make more money. Or try to get more customers or whatever. And there needs to be something that's actually clear.
Mm-hmm.
So once you can clarify that, communicate it to your team, you know it yourself, then you have a filter for all the distractions, all the other opportunities, all the shiny objects that you can say no to these things unless they're in service of this particular goal and this particular action. So does that kind of help answer your question, Nate?
Yeah. And John, do I have time to ask a question specifically about that?
Yeah, sure.
Okay, I'm curious. So John also has us doing like, what's your, like the one thing you need to do this week or the one thing, right? And I like the idea of tying that into that higher goal. Like, do I know that this thing I'm going to do right now is directly tied to the one most important thing? So my question is, what advice do you have on understanding what that most important thing will be? How do you figure?
It's a guess, right? So it's an experiment. There are a lot of people that will tell you, here's the only way to grow your email list, or here's the only way to sell a high ticket coaching program, or whatever. Like, those are all just guesses, because we all have different businesses with different offers, with different customers at different price points, like, it's all like, it's a guess. So, but you got to do something. So one of the big phrases we say all the time is that action brings clarity. So once you say, here's the goal that I'm going to go for, then you go, here's my best guess for how I think I can accomplish that goal. And I'm going to give it some time. And my friend Nathan Barry talks a lot about flywheels, and how a rotation through a flywheel should then produce better results a little bit easier and a little bit faster each time. So I like to use that flywheel framework as a way to test my ideas for, like, I think this activity is going to get me towards my results. And so focusing on it and actually giving it the time that it deserves for long enough to be able to go, is this working or is it not working? Yes or no? And if it is, like, what constraints can I remove to go faster? If it's not working, why? Is it because I'm literally just doing the wrong thing? Or is there something else that's broken here that needs to be removed? Do I need to try something different? So that becomes a process of experimentation where, like we talked about earlier, the problem of the month, like just trying to, see what works. And once I find what works, now I'm going to do that on repeat for as long as possible.
That's great.
Cool. I like
Thank
that.
you, Nate. Great question. While we bring Drew up, I also want to share, just to point this out, because it may or may not be obvious. But like, Shawn's background before this group coaching program and reputation was primarily productivity, focus, right? It's very much like Shawn's a productivity guy. And what he's done is said, like, yeah, that's a hammer, that's a power drill, right? That he's got is like these tools, but what are you going to do with the tools? And that's what he's done with this group coaching program, is commit to an outcome of saying, like, yeah, we're going to go teach you how to run your full-time business working part-time hours. It's still productivity tools. It's still life vision and priorities and all the same resources. It's just with a new focus. And that's what allows him to charge a much higher price point for that promise, is because it's so specific. I think that's a great example, because sometimes people aren't sure how to translate their skills to a group coaching program. And so I think you've done that really well, Shawn. Well done.
Awesome. Thanks, John.
You got it. Drew, so what's your question?
So my question is for actually both of you guys. So I have a brand new cohort program, 0 email subscribers, working on getting all that going. But what would be your advice, or what would you advise to help with social proof, and to be able to help people feel that, you have the chops to be able to deliver on what your 10X promise is all about?
That's a great question. Drew, would you share real quick for Shawn's context what your 10X promise is for your program?
Yeah, so mine's for humanitarian nonprofits. My 10X promise is to double your donations without begging people for money.
I love that.
Yeah. Shawn, do you have some initial
nonprofits? And I'm like, oh, yeah, that's super helpful.
Yeah, exactly. Shawn, do you want to share your initial thoughts, and I'll share mine too?
Yeah, I think so. A lot of times for social proof, you don't necessarily have to have of like, hey, we worked with Drew and we've doubled our donations. You could even just have like those character references of like, oh, Drew's awesome, or our experience with Drew is, man, we loved working with him. So it can be as simple as character references. Also, you could do free workshops, like a 60-minute, any nonprofit directors that or if you've got some sort of access to people, like, bring them in, teach some of your basic stuff, and then ask them for testimonials or feedback. And even say on the front end, I'd like to share some of these examples with you, and then maybe work to help unstop maybe one thing that you're struggling with the donation stuff on your guys' side and donor development. And then in exchange, could you give me a short little testimonial or short little case study if you found that it was valuable? And then you only need like 3, 4, or 5.
Yeah.
And then you're off to the races in terms of developing that social proof.
Yeah, I 100% agree with that. I would add that I think, like in your case, Drew, where you're taking, like, you have a lot of I guess I don't know all the details here, so I don't want to make assumptions here, but I know part of what you're doing is teaching about how to use video storytelling to get donations, to get people to want to donate to a nonprofit. So
that's actually storytelling in fundraising. Like, that's the key component. So
So do you have, even though your group coaching program is new, have you done that work either in employee or contractor or volunteer capacity with any existing nonprofits?
Yeah, I actually have two. One I've worked with for 2 years that I'm helping them to, it's like secretive. They don't know I'm coaching them, but because I'm working on the actual video content, I'm
Right.
coaching them. So yeah, I'm actually doing that with two right now, and I'm actually using that to pitch the concepts to test it of what I've outlined for the program, and it's actually working. And I'm like, this is phenomenal. So
That's awesome. So I think like that's a great example of where you can like you need to look for those like credibility markers wherever you can. Like that I think there's probably like a almost like a sequence of value in terms of like the absolute most valuable from a sales perspective testimonial is like Shawn's. I joined John's group coaching program and I 10x my investment. That's a results based testimonial about a specific product. That's like the gold standard or platinum standard. So thank you, Shawn. But then also, if you back up from that, it's like, okay, but the next level is like, I did something with Drew and it got me some kind of result. And then there's one that's just like, I did something with Drew and it was awesome. And then there's a level that's just like, Drew's awesome, right? So there's probably there's a lot of options for the kinds of testimonials. Like Shawn said, like character references is typically where you start of someone just saying like, Drew's great, you should listen to him. Like that's a good start. But I would say in your case, we're already doing some of this work outside of your group coaching program. I would definitely ask them for. So here's how I approach testimonials. I start by asking someone, "Hey, what was your most useful takeaway, or what was the impact of this work we've done together?" And then when they answer, I say, "Amazing. Do you know if I share that publicly?" Because when people ask people, "Would you write a testimonial for me?" They're like, yeah. Let me put that on my list, and it just makes people awkward. Like, so if you just ask them to share their takeaway or their transformation, usually they're happy to do it. Be like, oh yeah, Drew, like working with you has been awesome. It's been effortless. It's been really fun. We have some great videos. Donations are up like 30%. And you're like, great. Do you mind if I share? Like, could I just quote you on that? Like, that's the whole thing. That's the whole process. So that's my go-to way to get testimonials.
Oh, I love those insights. Yeah, I
Yeah.
know the list of names just came to me right now of who I could
Good.
ask that exact question. So,
Good.
Shawn and John, thank you so much for that insight.
You're welcome. You got it. Yeah.
That's
All right.
awesome.
Who else has got a question for us? You've got 10 more minutes of Shawn, and I don't know when you'll get him again. So you better take advantage of this.
I've got one
Yeah.
if no one else has one.
I guess Joe, there you go. I see you. Yeah.
I
So
didn't get my hand in there, but very nice to meet you, Shawn. And you've triggered a lot of things. I've known John for a while, and I teach communication skills and kind of mindset to international professionals. So my students are all people whose first language is not English. It's an interesting market. And one of the things I struggle with is the time to result ratio. So how much time in course with me? John has warned me many times about just going over the kitchen sink, over preparing, over, you know, fire hosing everyone, as opposed to what's the right dose for the result. And so could you go over what is your time to sort of how many weeks again, how long is your program, your coaching program, I think your cohort program you call it. How long is that and how does that and could you explain a little bit more your thinking, like because you've experimented so much, you've done so much beta with the content and you developed it and you did. So now where are you? I mean, do you feel like whatever you give them in that cohort, they really make a difference? Is that testimony really saying, like John saying, yeah, this guy 10x'd me? Or is it, I mean, is it to your satisfaction? Where are you landing with that? Those are kind of two questions. Thank you.
Yeah, let me just comment on this, Shawn, real quick, as you kind of step into this, which is that I think the question behind the question here is a little bit about this is the common question we get here is like in the 10x promise, we kind of want to promise the moon, but in the actual program, we're not going to deliver the moon. We're going to like give them all the pieces of the spaceship and that will help them launch, and then they will get to the moon eventually. And so I think your 10x promise actually is a great example of that, of like run your full-time business working part-time hours. That's a radical transformation. So yeah, could you speak a little bit to how do you prioritize like what is the minimum effective dose during the group coaching program,
Yeah,
and how do you
that's my
connect the
question.
dots? How do you connect the dots between what you teach and the outcome?
Yeah. I had a great person explain it to me. Basically, she's like, what you're doing is you're giving them a map. So in the cohort, in the program, she's like, you've now drawn the map that says, this is where you are. And you've given them a bunch of tools in their backpack that they can use. But now they got to go out and do the journey, right? Now it's like, okay, let's walk this stuff out. And so for me, realizing, okay, yeah, I can't get people to the finish line in, we have two versions of our cohort. One is a 2-day boot camp where it's 7 hours a day, 2 days in a row. And then another version of it is a month long where we do two 2-hour calls each week for 4 weeks. So there's kind of how it breaks down. But it's like, it's just, you can't get them to literally change their schedule and their business. There's too many moving parts. And then a lot of it is mindset stuff, Joe. Like you're like the people you work with, again, it's like just even shifting the way that they think about their business. And so getting them to that finish line of, here's your map, here's what you're actually going to focus on, here's when you're going to do it, here's how you're going to do it. And then we give them, they end up with like a hit list, basically, of here's all the stuff that you're going to stop doing that's going to protect this important thing, right? But some of those decisions can't be made during the time frame of the cohort. And so what I have found now that we've been doing this as a beta plus all the way through, so it's been 2 years total, but about 65 people total go through the program, is like it's actually another 6 to 12 months after the program is over before they're able to settle in and realize the changes that they're seeing, and then their business is growing. So like one of my star students, it took her a year to get things in place to start to make the changes for her business, because it was like a lot of stuff we did, and then we just checked in, and she's now on pace for like, she doubled her business revenue in like 6 months working with me, and then she's on pace to double it again, which is awesome. And someone else that I worked with, he's like, I actually am now at the point I'm working part-time hours. And he goes, and I realized, stop, this is it. This was where I was trying to get to. And he goes, I had the urge to add more time, or start working more, take on another client. And he goes, wait, the whole point I signed up for was to get to this milestone. I'm actually here. So I've noticed it takes people about a year, 6 months to a year to get to that point. And so that was difficult of relinquishing control for the decisions that they have to make and implement on their own. Of like, I'm going to guide you through this process. I'll answer all your questions, but you have to now go do the work, and you've got to implement it on your own. And I'm not responsible for you to get to that ultimate finish line, but I would love to work with you and help you get there. But I'm not going to put the responsibility on myself. And that took some work to get there.
So it sounds like it's a great follow-up place to work from, given where you're at and the thing you've been telling us, that if that's true, that they need another 6 to months to, then you've got to have some, I would think it'd be great to have some pitch, the follow-up pitch to this course. What do you do next? And it's not simply just a level 2. You could come up with something much more interesting. And not even a subscription, but something really, really cool that would be different. Because I have the same thing with my students. It takes 6 months to a year. I mean, they take a long time, but I'm noticing it. And but I guess the driver of this question, what's behind it, is that right now, like I've seen this already after a year, I'm seeing some of my folks getting promoted. I'm seeing some of them quit their jobs to get to get more salary. That's what I want to be able to translate in my pitch. I want to be able to say, I would love to say, work with Joe and get promoted, but I can't. Well, I don't know how to do that. That's where I'm stuck, because otherwise I'm saying, yeah, it's great to work with Joe. I mean, okay, wonderful. And Joe's stuff, I really learned a lot from Joe. All right. But people, especially my clients, are super practical as immigrants, right? Everybody. Right?
Yeah. Well, and just to double down on that for Joe, for you, like I know your clients, most of them are already senior leaders at like tech companies. Yeah. Most of these people are from China, right? Most of them.
Yeah, it's a real Chinese. It's 98% right now.
Yeah, 98% Chinese senior leaders, but they're not getting to that like C-suite or that executive level, and for a lot of reasons, but a lot of it has to do with the fact that English is their second language, and so they don't know how to talk like a native, and so they end up kind of feeling like and actually being a little bit on the fringe of a lot of those conversations.
There's a lot of implications in that. Very interesting.
Yeah.
So it's very hard for me, and I don't know if I can go ahead and ask for the suggestion, but I really want to be able to stand up there and say, this program, my promise is that you're going to be making 20% more next year. Well, that's what I want to be able to say.
Well, but Joe, like I would encourage you that there's still an identity piece. Like all of us, what we're selling is like the next level of someone's identity growth, of like who they want to be when they grow up, so to speak. That's really what we're selling. Now sometimes you kind of like can put a name to that, like Sold Out Coach Club, like Sold Out Coach is like the identity that I'm selling, but that's not my promise. That's the identity is still in there, even with Shawn's, like where it's like this is a different version of you. It's like if you can run your full-time business working part-time hours, it's like that's a different version of me. So for you, Joe, I think like you're probably what you're selling is, I mean, it's not just, I think that where for knowing your target client, it's not about the money specifically. It is though. It's about professional growth, but it's probably about them. Like it's almost like executive English. Like it's not just learning how to talk like a naked native. It's specifically like learn how to speak English like like a CEO. Honestly,
There you go, John.
yeah.
That's working now. He's working his magic there, Shawn. So we'll just keep him. Can I just hang out? Can I hang out with you?
No, Joe.
Can we all hang
No.
out and just absorb this stuff?
Yeah,
Thank you very much.
this is
Shawn.
what I
That
look
was
for.
nice.
So
Thank you,
thank you,
Shawn.
Joe. Thank you, Joe. Thank you. Yeah,
Thank you.
appreciate that. Shawn, thank you so much. I mean, you've had a chance to kind of like talk through your story, get some input. I hear questions from different people. I'm curious, like, what's your most useful takeaway walking away from this? I know obviously this wasn't formally a coaching call. This is for you. It's for you to share your story, but I'd just love to hear kind of. I think I'd love to hear two things from you if you're willing in our last 2 minutes, which is what's your biggest takeaway walking away from this call? And what is your most important piece of advice to other coaches who are tuning in and they want to be sold out? They want to be sold out coaches and they want to build their group coaching program and impact for both the impact and the income.
Yeah. I think my biggest takeaway we were talking about earlier, just with the workshop, the belief building, that process of taking folks from, the funnel, doing more of the belief building stuff and getting clear on that. And then I like your suggestion of maybe pulling some of the unnecessary content from my pitch deck, especially for folks who are already bought into the idea of it. I just want to know more. So some good takeaways for me on that regard. As far as my advice for someone wanting to build a sold out group, at least in my experience, it's just been to continually iterate and pay attention to what's working, what's not working, and not take it personally. It's hard to not take it personally because, like you were saying, John, like, oh, you bought, you like me. Oh, you didn't buy, you don't like me. And the truth is, they don't like us or not like us. They're all thinking about themselves the same way that I'm thinking about myself all the time.
Yeah.
And so just learning, constantly just learning, improving, and iterating on the way it's positioned, the way it's delivered, the way it's sold. Just experimenting with that and not trying to be romantic about how I sell it or who I sell it to or how much I sell it for or any of that stuff. Of just find what works.
That's great. That's excellent. That's an excellent takeaway. Thank you for sharing that, Shawn. I think my most useful takeaway from this, I mean, I want to echo everything you just said, and then I just want to think like, I want to come back to that question of like, what's the problem of the month, right? Because I agree with you what you said earlier, even though I sometimes wrestle with it, where you were like, look, guys, there's not one way to sell a group coaching program. I'm like, hey, there is, right? It's my way. No, the reality is it's choose your own adventure, and there are many paths to success. And my job and what we do here in this community is try to collect resources and tools that are going to help make it as simple as possible. But the reality is, like, there's no universal solution. And there are people here with different audiences and different niches and different experience levels and all those things. And like, we just have to focus on like, what's the next problem to solve? So, although Drew likes my way, he thinks it's the only way. So I'll take that. Thanks, Drew. So, all right. Thank you, Shawn. I appreciate this so much. And thank you all of you who's tuned in. And even those who watch the replay, we like you too. If you're watching the replay, please post your most useful takeaway in the comments so we can come back and we can all learn from that. So keep up the good work, y'all, and we'll talk soon. Keep up the good work.
Thanks, John. Thanks, everybody. Awesome to meet you guys.